Hello everybody, dear friends, clients, and astrology lovers, my English-speaking followers. Here is Olga with the weekly horoscope with the analysis of planetary transit aspects for the week of December 11th until December 17th. I didn't present you the weekly horoscopes, if you call them this way, for the past 2 weeks. So I'm back with the analysis of the transits for the week. But the last time I released a video that was talking about in details about the retrograde phase of Mercury. I hope that you saw it. For those who didn't see the video on Mercury retrograde, I strongly advise you to find the video in the list of in the playlist. Yes, that's why I will mention a little bit of Mercury today, but the detailed description of the retrograde phase of this planet that is taking place right now, the moment when you listen to me. The retrograde phase of Mercury lasts from the December 3rd until December 23rd. Yes, it is fully presented during a pretty long video in a separate analysis. Yes, look at it in the playlist on the resource where you're watching me. Well, today I will talk about the transits of the upcoming week, and the week is pretty good. I will talk also about the new moon that will occur next Monday, December 18th, but of course I will talk about it in the video that covers the upcoming week, because the last day of the old lunar month that precede the new moon are extremely important. That's why I will talk about the new moon today. Since I didn't made weekly horoscopes for the past 2 weeks, I will mention a couple of general statements, characteristics of the month of December, the last month of the ending of the year that is ending up of the year 2017 will be promising and dynamic. The December will be extremely positive. Why? Because first of all, a small superiority of the presence of the planets in masculine signs of the zodiac until December 21st stimulates us to a very active life. So it's better to plan all the important events for this period. What are the masculine signs of the zodiac? Of course, the signs that belong to the fire and to the air element. They represent yang, masculine energy, active energy that undertakes action, comparing to earth and water signs, which correspond to yin, passive feminine energy. So we have a lot of planets in Sagittarius, right? We will have stellium in this sign. I will talk about it later. So the superiority of planets of the position of planets in the fire and air signs and masculine signs pushes out, stimulates us to a very active life and to self-expression, all kinds of presentations, like, open days, we call it like this, right? When we have, for example, exhibition of paintings, and we open the doors of the museum, of the gallery, for free, for example. People come in and they discover the place. These type of events will be very successful because we will be able to present our projects clearly and emotionally. From December 14th until December 18th, we call it small period of planets in the signs of Scorpio and Sagittarius will be observed, and it's precisely Sagittarius, the sign of Sagittarius, that will unite the three celestial personal bodies. The Sun, Mercury, and Venus will have these three planets in Sagittarius between December 14th and 18th. So December should be for us the month of spiritual quest and the month of aspiration to go beyond the ordinary, although the connections and communication during the major part of the month will be somewhat slower than usually because of the retrograde phase of Mercury. But as I described in this separate video on the retrograde phase of Mercury, this is not the end of the world. We have our task is to find and to apply the right strategy or behavior. It's not the end of the world at all. Another remarkable astrological event of the month, of the entire year, and of course of the past 3 years, is the ingression of Saturn in the sign of Capricorn on December 20th, on 19th. It depends on the country where you are. The time of ingression, the exact time of the ingression can vary a little bit. Saturn will move to Capricorn and to the sign of its governance, and I'm preparing, of course, a separate video on this subject. Until December 20th, Saturn is, of course, being Sagittarius, completes a 3-year cycle, which can be considered as a exam of how our worldview responds to the demands of the evolution. We will ask ourselves following questions: how successful we have been in focusing on our thoughts about long-term goals? How successful have we been in planning clearly the path of our spiritual development? So we combine here the symbolism of Saturn and of Sagittarius. Now, with the transition of Saturn from Sagittarius to Capricorn, our new strategic goals will gain a new quality, of course, during the next 3 years, when the focus will be on long-term basic programs, strengthening the aspects of life that form the foundation of our existence. Once again, more details about that in a separate video, which is coming up. Let's talk a little bit. Let's mention Mercury. What's going on with our Mercury in December? Mercury will be during the entire month in Sagittarius, and where its position is weakened. Of course, we know that Mercury Sagittarius is in it's the weakest position. Exile, I think. Detriment, exile, detriment. The qualities of Sagittarius, of this fire mutable sign, stimulate generalization and synthesis, whereas Mercury, as if you talk about the symbolism and function of the planet, is more inclined to analyze and to the more detailed information, to the perception of more detailed information. And as a result, we may lack sufficient focus and critical approach to the information received during the transit of Mercury by Sagittarius. Nevertheless, this position of Mercury gives brilliance, eloquence, breadth to thoughts, gives us also, wakes up interest in philosophical and spiritual themes and subjects, gives an inspiration to broaden the sphere of communication and the desire to teach others and to persuade others in our own position and our own opinions. And at this moment, as I said, we are currently in the loop, in the middle of the loop, in the middle of the retrograde phase of Mercury. I will give you general statements and you will listen to the detailed analysis of this event in this video that I mentioned already many times. We must be careful when working with documents, when we travel and when we use transportation. Mercury retrograde is favorable for the completion of cases and projects that have been started in the past. But for new beginnings, of course, the time is not suitable. Many of us will decide for sure to redo or to finalize the unfinished projects, especially since December is the last month of 2017, when it's time to strike a balance of the year, of the entire year. And on December 13th, the Sun will be in conjunction with the Mercury retrograde. This date is extremely strategic because December 13th is the midpoint between the beginning and the end of the retrograde phase that started on the 3rd of December. It will end up on the 23rd. We are in the middle. On December 13th, we are in the middle of the retrograde phase of Mercury, and it's also the end of the old cycle Sun-Mercury and the beginning of a new cycle of these two planets, because any conjunction of two planets marks the beginning of a new cycle of a new common cycle common to these two planets, right? So these days, the December 13th plus minus 2 days, we will be verifying all the agreements that we concluded, signed in early December. It's like the point of verification and test and examination. This is the moment to understand what we imagined in the beginning of December and how things are really in the reality, the real state of things. We should be careful, as careful as possible in our affairs. We should look at how adequate, coherent our reactions to external events are. If they are weakened, our reactions, we will encounter for sure misunderstandings in the most diverse spheres of our life. We must wait 2-3 days after the exact conjunction of Mercury with the Sun to sum up and to think about what to do next. This is the moment of, on one hand, of blindness, at the same time of insight, when we finally see things, when we know what is going on and what we are supposed to do next. Because in astrological theory, the conjunction Mercury-Sun is called burnt Mercury, because Mercury is burned by the Sun at the moment of its conjunction with this planet. So during the period of the conjunction Sun-Mercury, our behavior will be characterized by rigor in all mental activity and in studies, in the process of absorbing new information, learning, and by the imaginative perception of any information we are trying to absorb, because the aspect activates the depth of understanding. All this can promise us good results in any scientific research, if this is our professional sphere, and the communication will be characterized by the sensitivity to the interlocutor, and the desire to help this person. So near the beginning of this new cycle of Sun-Mercury, let's say between December 6th and 18th, but 13th plus minus 2-3 days, we will be able to see new people and new plans enter our lives. Nevertheless, the new moon of December 18th, we have to wait until this new moon. Before this date, we will be busy preparing the ground for the implementation of these new plans and projects without having any real opportunity to act. And new trends, in other words, will germinate on internal levels. So we will have to, if we have new ideas and plans and projects, we have to wait until the new moon, which is logical. We know that how it works. Since I didn't present you the video of the last week, the weekly transits of the last week, I will mention the ingression of Mars in Scorpio, which took place on December 9th, because it's a major astrological event. Also, Mars left Libra and entered Scorpio on December 9th, where it will stay. Mars will stay in the sign until the 26th of January 2018. The position of Mars in Scorpio is, unlike its position in Libra, where it is weak, it's strong. In Scorpio, it's strong, it's strengthened, and therefore it's much more adequate to the norm. Which norm? What norm? The function of Mars. Action, energy, personal initiative. The Mars in Scorpio, the transit of Mars in Scorpio stimulates integration, mutual support, the consolidation of the members of the team on the basis of common interests, as well as the power to overcome, to repair the gaps, both in the professional situations and in the relations between people within the team. This is the time to solve the most difficult problems and critical crisis situation that must be perceived as necessary life lessons. We will encounter a lot of challenges, but we will have enough of strength, force, courage to overcome obstacles and to go through these challenges. The advice of this transit is to learn how to solve problems in the order of their appearance. All that happens, all these challenges and obstacles that we will encounter for sure during this transit will help us to develop our adaptation to the complex conditions and circumstances of the constantly changing world. Therefore, from December 10th, we should expect a strong increase in activity. We will have a lot of energy, and we will feel that we are the masters of the world, that we are able to overcome even impossible obstacles. Okay. This is the transit of Mars by Scorpio. So this will be the time to implement our plans visualized earlier and to have them tested in practice. However, as every strong position of any planet is always ambivalent, Mars and Scorpio, it's not only a strategic behavior, courageous and bold. Scorpio is often characterized by intolerance to imperfections of others, by harshness and even sometimes cruelty. So as a result, the transit of Mars by Scorpio can exacerbate conflict situations within teams and can provoke in the superiors and authorities a temptation of emotional pressure. The pressure that would use force on subordinates to make them work more efficiently. So that's why it's necessary to avoid this hard, sharp attitude. We should be more flexible towards other people and to be more tolerant to their weak sides of character, imperfections, because all of us, we have imperfections. We have to take into account the value of each member of the team if you talk about professional environment, and of course we have to be tolerant to other people in general. Mars and Scorpio mobilizes our physical and mental powers and reveals internal reserves. Of course we will feel courageous and full of energy. We will think that the world belongs to us, but we have to keep in mind, to avoid these extremes, being tough, hard, sharp and cruel. I mentioned just before that conjunction Mercury-Sun on the 13th of December, but on the 15th of December, Mercury will form the conjunction with Venus, because these three planets are in Sagittarius. And keep in mind that on the 15th we will have stellium of 5 planets in Sagittarius. Sun, also Moon this day, Mercury, Venus and Saturn will be in Sagittarius. What a bright, optimistic, bright and light and generous energy and environment that we will experience this day. It's an excellent moment for romantic meetings, encounters, for engagement, and for any action that can lead you, that will allow you to impress your partner. It's good to launch an advertising campaign on this day, and any public action that has the goal to increase your personal status. Despite the weakness of Mercury, which was retrograde at this moment, the day is still not bad for purchases where the aesthetic aspect is important. For example, clothes, furniture, interior objects. Especially if we talk about, a purchase or presentation or this public action, which will be the part of the larger, bigger process that was started in the beginning, earlier. We should not start something new, of course, because Mercury is retrograde, but life doesn't stop. We can do things and presentations and buy nice stuff, but only if these actions will be the other part of an existing process, of existing situation that was started earlier. And interesting fact that Mercury and Venus have not met in Sagittarius since November 2011. Another very constructive, very interesting and positive transit and aspect is the trine of the Sun with Uranus on the 16th of December on Saturday. The trine Sun-Uranus allows to solve quickly and without delay any important problem, to implement an idea. So of course the course of the events will be intense this day in ±2 days, and the context and the environment will be largely positive. But still, we should not schedule important meetings and dates during days, I mean, for romantic encounters during this week, because unfortunately Mercury is retrograde, and the retrograde phase is at its peak, and at this moment it's better to observe what happens than to be an active participant. Nevertheless, novelty, something new can enter the lives of many of us. Someone will have new and interesting ideas, for example. Somebody else will want to radically change his lifestyle or way of life. Someone else will discover and become aware of a new facet of his of his own personality. In any case, this aspect brings to our life sort of unpredictability and contributes to our transformation, because Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, the sign of revolutionary changes. The aspect pushes us to look boldly into the future, keeping in mind that this is the advice of astrology. Aquarius, the future is always more progressive and more perfect than the past. And the last part is the new moon on the 18th of December at 1:30 a.m. New York, the time of New York, in the 26.31 degree of Sagittarius. Remember that the latest new moon took place in the sign of Scorpio. It was Plutonic by its characteristics. So the entire lunar month that is ending up now had this nature of transformation. Probably it was very critical and emotional. This new moon has all the characteristics of the sign of Sagittarius, which indicates on a completely new trend for the next lunar month. The keywords will be travel, long-distance trips, training, high studies, superior studies, expansion of our world view, and of course the thirst for adventure. All these themes, these subjects will be in the center of our attention of the upcoming lunar cycle. The motto of this new month is the truth above all. Sagittarius, where the new moon will occur, is under the governance, of course, of Jupiter. We know that. This is a very generous, inspiring planet, a planet inspiring optimism. So the new moon gives us momentum to high hopes and inspirations and plans, optimistic plans and projects. The pleasure of the upcoming, the good news of this new moon is that we will enter the new calendar year 2018 under the impact of this new moon in Sagittarius, which is a promising factor that speaks of the influence of Jupiter on at least at the beginning of the new year, such as this promising factor is opportunities to obtain the gifts of destiny, to receive some gifts, not only for the Christmas holidays and New Year holidays, but at least for that period of time. Yeah, the end of 2017 and the beginning of 2018. Another gift of Jupiter is expansion of the fields of our presence in the society. We can enjoy life thanks to this new moon in Sagittarius. And if you believe, of course, in the magical properties of lunations, of the lunar cycles, then it's worthwhile to use the power of the new moon in Sagittarius, to count the new moon in Sagittarius that will occur on the 18th of December. This is new moon is also particular because it's a super moon. So, yeah, super moon. Because in astrology and astronomy, a full moon or a new moon that coincides with the minimum distance from the satellite to the Earth, I mean this apogee of the lunar orbit, we call it the fictitious point, the black moon Lilith, it's called the supermoon. But in the case in Russian we use the term supermoon for the full moon, which will be in conjunction with the black moon Lilith. In the case of the new moon conjunction sun moon, which will be in conjunction with the Lilith, we'll call it in Russian micro. Not super, but the contrary. Micro moon. We don't have the same term for the new moon and for the full moon that includes the conjunction with the Lilith, with the black moon fictitious point. The new moon occurs near Lilith, so the farthest point of the lunar orbit, apogee. Everything that is far away as possible from earthly reality, from physical nature, and from the average norm in a constructive and destructive sense, is associated with this fictitious point, the black moon Lilith. So if you talk about the new lunar cycle, that will start on December 18th, constructive scenarios, the constructive scenario of the new lunar cycle will be the following. We go beyond the limits of the past, we overcome the barriers of what is considered the generally accepted average standard in business, projects, opportunities, personal growth. The destructive variant of the scenario of the new lunar cycle is the following. New plans that we will build, all important decisions that we will make, behavioral strategies that we will apply to our reality, all this will happen in the context of illusions and misconceptions, far from reality. And so in the future they will be destroyed, because Lilith, the black moon, Lilith, the fictitious point, is sort of prism, you know, the magnifying glass, which changes, which deforms the objective vision of the reality. That's why the key word of this conjunction of the Lilith with the new moon is illusions, misconceptions, unrealistic vision of the reality, not objective at all. So we have to pay attention to this. That's why this month, the days of Hecate, you know, the last 2 days of the ending lunar month and the first days after the new moon, so between December 15th and 19th, will require much more attention and caution on our part, and these days will be more dangerous than usually they are during any other new moons. Our survival instincts will be weakened, so a tendency to illusions, errors, aberrations will be visible in our behavior, and the risk of distorted reactions, fatal errors, will also increase. The general resistance to the environment, the resistance of our organism in terms of health, will be also weakened. So that's why these days will be the days of increased likelihood of injuries, situations of crisis and emergency. The new moon doesn't form negative aspects, tense aspects with other planets like squares or positions, but the new moon is in conjunction with the black moon Lilith and Sagittarius. That's why it's very important to mention that. We should not neglect the presence of the fictitious point Lilith in the new moon of December 18th. So I wish you courage, and I wish you to apply the right strategy of behavior during this retrograde phase of Mercury. You can listen and watch my video on this astrological phenomena in a separate video that I mentioned already. And happy new moon, and I will talk to you the next week with in the weekly horoscopes, when I will analyze weekly transits, and of course I'm preparing the video on the ingression of Saturn into the sign of Capricorn. Thank you for your attention. Talk to you very soon. Bye bye.